You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
What's going on, everybody? I know what you're thinking. There's a couple things you're thinking. First off, Miss Jen, you have let yourself go. Guys, ouch, that one hurts. And the other one I'm sure you're thinking is, why did they bring the third string goalie in for Talking Shop? Okay, first off, again, ouch. I'm not the third. Well, I guess in this case, I am a third string goalie, but sometimes the third string goalie is the perfect guy. And today is exactly it. We've got an amazing Kickstarter we're talking about with some heavy hitters, John Marroquin and Dominic Reggio. Yeah, see, Jen, I have changed, haven't I? Thank you. And they're going to be talking about their book. Dude, okay, the title is a freaking novel. Darren McCarty, Life is a Grind, but I'm going to write it all night long. No, that's not it. But anyways, close enough. But it's about hockey spectacular, dude, goon spectacular. Darren McCarty from the Detroit Red Wings. Very excited. We're going to be sitting down, chatting with them. So what do? You bring a dude from small town Ontario, where even though comics were my first love, hockey was always there, man. It's in your blood whether you want it or not. You know what I mean? It's as much in my blood as diabetes, probably. Anyways, we're going to have a freaking awesome show tonight. So much fun. So you know what? Enough of my crap. Let's do it right now. Talkin Shop. Okay, hey guys. Dude, that was the shortest intro, by the way. Usually I'm like, I have time to kind of stretch and move around. No, in and out. Okay, I like it. Today's guest, as I said before, absolutely awesome. Very excited. I don't know an awful lot about them, so I'm excited to sit down. So why don't we just screw it, bring them on in. John Marroquin, Dominic Reggio, let's do it.
How's it going?
How's it going, gents? What's up?
Not too much, just freezing our asses off here in Detroit.
See, people always ask me, like, especially Northerners, you know, people from back home, they're like, Chuck, why are you in Texas? And I'm like, because screw pants, that's why.
Right. We're pretty much in the thick of it right now in the end of December. It's not getting any warmer.
Oh, dude. No doubt, man, no doubt. So, before we even get too far into this, where are you guys both from?
I'm in Metro Detroit, like Royal Oak, Birmingham area. Lived here in this area pretty much my whole life.
John?
Yeah, I'm from Detroit. I live out in a suburb now, about 20 minutes from downtown, but born and raised in Detroit.
Is that how you guys were kind of able to get yourselves hooked up with Darren?
Yeah, so I actually, I grew up as a Wings fan my whole life. I was there for, I remember back before, right around the time the Illich was bought it, the Dead Wings era. And my dad worked in Detroit produce, and they couldn't give the tickets away. I mean, they'd come down to the produce terminal and be like, hey, will you please go to the game with the tickets in hand? And, they were pulling all kinds of gimmicks to get people to come down there. There was a girl that would run around with huge fun bags around the concourse, and that was the only time people would cheer. And I'm like, yeah, Dan, I want to go to the game. And he's like, do you want to watch the game or do you want to watch that girl run around? I'm like, is it okay if I say both? And so I was there for that era, but I also got to see the rise when they had the dynasty with the Cups. And in the book, John was the illustrator for. There is a very funny 2 or 3 pages where I actually met Darren in late '99 at a strip club on 8 Mile somewhere, and that's where we actually first met, talking about Final Fantasy VII, how to raise a gold chocobo. So then I actually, he kind of remembered that, and so did I. But later on, I have a charity in Detroit with Alumni Red Wings, where I actually got to sit down and have a normal conversation and talk about the ideas that I had, including this book here.
That's freaking awesome, man. That's so cool. So, okay, you know what? Let's get this one aside, since Darren's probably not going to be here, but also let's just take him out of the equation altogether for a second. If you had to pick your all-time favorite Red Wing, Darren not included, even though he might not be on your list anyways.
Okay.
Who's your all-time favorite Red Wing?
Wow. So I have to go with the era that I saw. Like, I never saw Gordon Howe or Ted Lindsay or anyone like that. So, God, that's a really good question. I think I was a defenseman. I played a little bit growing up, and I think I'm going to have to go with Nick Lidstrom. He wasn't with the team very long. My favorite all-time player is Paul Coffey, but he was only with the Wings for a couple of years. So I'm going to go with Nick Lidstrom. He was mistakeless out there. I don't even understand how he did it, what he did.
John, what about yourself?
Well, I was a big fan also exactly through that same era, but my first jersey was actually Joey Kosher. So I'm probably gonna have to say him. And just to add on what Dom was saying earlier, back when they were giving those tickets away, I think the only reason people would go to the games were to watch the Bruise Brothers, which was Probert and Kosher fighting every damn night. So I think that saved them from going under pretty much. Yeah. And another thing to add on top is a funny story is my first. There you go. I got the VHS tape.
Yeah.
the first the only autograph I got from McCarty is from a strip bar, on the back of a strip bar card that my buddy met him at a strip bar and got his autograph for me because I was such a big fan. So it's funny that both our first experience with him were from strip bars.
That's figure. Hilarious. See, and I understand the idea of that dead era, because I mean, I'm from Toronto. Like, we're still in it, and we have been since what, 67. So I 100% feel it, and hopefully one day we get out of it in my lifetime. That would be pretty nice.
We got close with Dougie Gilmore there for a minute.
Oh yeah,
in the finals, I think.
Not finals, but semis.
Okay, conference final. Okay.
Yeah. So we got close, but yeah. All right. We've talked hockey long enough for now. Let's get back to comics, because I know a lot of our audience right now is like, what the are these guys talking about? So why don't we go through first, you guys as creators, let me know real quick, like, what are your, Dom, let's start with you. Give me a rundown of kind of what got you started and where you've been in comics.
Yeah, so my company, Messbucket Comics, started in 2012, and about the end of 2010 is when, and I always told that I had a little bit of a writing talent. I just didn't really know what to do with it. And I started to take it serious around 2011, and I put out a story called The Arcane Awakening, which is like an X-Men meets supernatural kind of feel to the story. Very, there's everything I wanted in a comic that wasn't there. There's humor, there's action, and the characters that I wanted. I wanted that God versus the devil element that I grew up with, learning every day in religion class, that I wasn't really for all the moral code stuff. I just thought I was like, Lucifer was really cool, and the hellfire and brimstone. So I traveled with that trilogy for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. And I did great. I'm still selling it, and I'm still very proud of it. But I wanted to have more than one IP, and I decided to write, go in a completely different direction. And I came out with my first hockey comic book series. It's called Donnybrook, which it follows a fictional minor hockey league. And it's like an updated version of the movie Slapshot. I had all these teams, and I used some of my junior hockey stories. I played for half a cup of coffee of junior hockey. And so all these wild personalities and crazy stories, and a lot of people told me that it wasn't going to work. You're not going to be able to sell a hockey comic at comic book shops or at comic conventions. And I tended to believe them, but I just, because it's like, it's not, you're not, those rooms, those convention halls aren't filled with jocks or hockey players exactly. But I just, was, if it's good enough, people are going to want to check it out. And hopefully I had my fan base would trust me enough to go, in a 180 direction. So when I had that book come out, so I had these fictional teams, Darren got a hold of it and he loved it. And he's like, I said, would you like to be more of a part of it? So each book that comes out has a story from a former player for authenticity that I weave into the storyline. And I also said to Darren, how about you're the owner of one of these fictional teams in the book? And he gave it about 2 minutes of thought and came up with the Burnaby Blazers, Stone Lumberjacks from Western Canada. And so, we sell those jerseys, and then Burnaby, British Columbia. So that's on the West Coast, right? Yeah, yep. West Coast, Canada. So then from there, we got other people to jump on board, like Brian O'Halloran from Clerks. He plays Dante. He owns the Hell's Kitchen Vegans. We've had Roddy Piper still alive in this universe. He has the Kilted Avengers. So, which also got me into the pro wrestling side of it, where I was approached by the Piper family and Pro Wrestling Tees to come up with a Roddy Piper book, where I was absolutely blown away by being a part of that. And then, more Donnybrook. And then I went to Darren and said, hey, how about we do your whole life story? He wrote a book 10 or so years ago, my life as a hockey rock star. I took that as the source material, broke it down, added new stories that hadn't been told, and updated it. And it took us a long time. It's a 180-page book, but I'm very proud of it. John was excellent with the art.
Well, that's a pretty solid segue, actually. John was excellent with the art. John, why don't you do the same for us? Let us know a little bit about your origin into the crazy comic world, and a little bit about what you've done.
Well, I probably started maybe around the same time as Dom. I mean, I've been drawing since I was born, and comics have always been my one thing that I wanted to do, but I just never did it. And my wife convinced me at the time to approach some comic creators that were looking for some help downtown Detroit, and I did, and did some work for them, and then just started doing stuff by myself, met some cool people, and started doing the convention circuit and making my own comics, and just networking and hooking up with people like Dom and other people. And I've published probably about 5 or 6 stories, different places, my own and other people's. So yeah, that's about it. I just jumped in and just still trying to figure it out.
It's so funny because you two fit into the artist writer mold so perfectly. Dave Mora, thank you very much. I'm glad you're loving it. And it's always nice to have new people in comics. But you guys fit really perfectly into the mold, because the writer is usually the talker, and the artist is just kind of like, yeah, okay, I'm here. I love what I do, but I don't have a lot to say about it. So
yeah,
I draw pictures to talk.
I respect it. I respect it a lot. So for as comic creators, who are some inspirations for you guys? Some guys who, looking back, have kind of you either emulate or you appreciate, who kind of in your mind sort of helped get you to where you are now.
Go ahead, John.
I mean, just
John influenced me. I was just saying, go ahead, John. I want to make sure everyone knows that.
Right.
I said, John, you were not an influence. I just wanted you to go first.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, just the big dogs in the game. I mean, just looking at all the, like the Joe Quesada, all the famous artists that I'm not that I emulate them or can even emulate them, but just looking at that and pushing myself with my art.
Yeah.
But I mean, even people like Dom. I got my buddy Tony Maiello, like Dirk Manning, Eric Gutierrez. Like we're like the crew that kind of travel, do cons together. But we all like push each other. We all shit on each other's work so that we can get better. But it's just basically doing the circuit and looking at everybody else's work and comparing it to yourself and going home and trying harder. And that's pretty much how I do it.
Nice. Respect. What about you, Dom?
Well, I'm going to give just about everything to Carl that lived across the street from me growing up. He had a giant collection, and I used to read through his books like crazy. And, as a kid, I'm reading the books, and at some point you kind of grow out of comic books and cartoons and stuff like that. So I was starting to like distance myself from comics at whatever age. And he goes, all right, Don, wait, hold on. You've got to read this book, The Dark Knight Returns. And I read Frank Miller. So I was kind of too cool for, the old school kind of stuff. And then I read that and I'm like, oh my God, this is like a real comic book. This is like, they're talking about all kinds of crazy stuff and the language and the elevated violence. And that brought me back into it. I read more of his stuff. And then later on, before I got going again, in high school, I actually, I went to one of my good friends was this girl, Courtney Johns. This was Jeff John's sister. She went to the all-girls school next to the all-boys school that I went to. And so we were like, there was a party at her house, and like she was, giving us a tour of the house. And she's like, well, this room is my brother's room. He's like really crazy into comics. Don't go in there. He gets really intense with his books. I'm like, oh, okay. And I kind of left the group and went through all of his shit. I went through all of his. They were all over the place. They were on the bed, on the floor. And she comes back. She goes, oh my God, he's going to kill me. Like, I'll put it all back. And then like a week later, she's like, you didn't put it back the right way. You said you would. It was he totally knew somebody went through it. So I haven't met him. I still never got to meet Jeff. He was never there when I was there. But I apologize for ruining your collection when I was in high school.
That's a pretty great opening line, though, for when you finally do meet him. Like, that's pretty great. By the way, I want you to know I screwed with your comics. I'm sorry. Wait, who the hell are you? Like, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, those two guys, I mean, he wasn't hired as a writer yet. He was doing other stuff, like trying to get to the big leagues at that point. But the stuff he had, I'm trying to remember what he had that really like got me back into it again in high school. But so he's also to blame for all of this. Let's
a funny story about Jeff Johns is I went to. Do you remember Wizard World's?
Yeah.
Conventions. Well, that was Wizard World Chicago was our big show. Not that I wasn't doing shows yet. That's the show I went to when I was younger to go as a fan, and I had showed up with my girlfriend at the time, and we went to the bar connected to the hotel, and that's back when everybody was in the bar. Kevin Smith and Jeff Johns, Joe Quesada was there. I mean, just everybody was in there getting drunk and hanging out. And I go to the bar to get a drink, and the Tigers were on. I think they were in the playoffs. And I'm watching the score, and I think they scored, and I start cheering. And the guy next to me goes, "Oh, are you from Detroit?" I go, "Yeah, I'm from Detroit." He goes, "Me too." He goes, "And my buddy also is," and it turned out to be Jeff Johns, who was at the restroom, and he came back and he goes, "Hey, this guy's from Detroit," and we started talking. And he goes, "What do you do?" I go, "Well, I'm an artist, but I'm not at the convention as an artist." And he goes, "I tell you what," he said, "bring me your stuff next year. Come to show. Come find me. Bring me your stuff, and if I like it, I'll do a story for you." And I was like, "Oh, cool." After that, he never showed up at Wizard World again. He blew up. That was before he blew up. I mean, everybody knew who he was, but after that, he was like, that was it. I show up with my stuff the next year. I'm like, "Where's Jeff Johns?" "Oh, he don't come to this shit no more. He's too busy." I'm like, story of my life.
That's a good story though, man. I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Good
We
for
have
him.
a lot of connection with Jeff Johns, but he don't know who the fuck we are, but we know him.
No, I feel that. Well, and I think that that goes for all of us usually, anyways. But you guys actually have a connection, which is pretty badass. I like that a lot. And again, you guys both have stories. If you ever do meet up with them, you can be like, "Oh, by the way, I'm this guy who blank."
He was half in the bag. I doubt he'll remember me.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but even just hearing the story, it's like that's cool. Like I'm glad. I'm sure he'll be like, I'm glad you've got that moment. Like that's pretty neat. Shout out to everyone who's in the comments right now, David, Kenneth, everybody. Guys, if you guys have any questions for these gents, please let us know. Also, hit up the Kickstarter. We're not there to talking about it yet, but we will be. Darren McCarty, Life is a Grind Way. Yeah, Life is a Grind, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
Who made up the super long title?
It was we had a fan pick out the name. Darren McCarty, Life's a Grind, Enjoy My Truth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Too bad it wasn't just like Hockey McHawkerson or something like that. That would have been even better.
That'll be the sequel.
Goon 5 or something like that, whatever. All right, cool. You know what, guys? We're gonna take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're gonna talk more about the Kickstarter, more about Darren, and of course, more about John and Dom. We'll see you guys in just a minute.
You know how when you go to Comic-Con, after Comic-Con, you go to the hotel bar, and there's a whole bunch of people playing music and dancing, and you've got Pikachu and Lara Croft Tomb Raider doing the cha-cha slide just down from Deadpool and Batman and Wonder Woman? That's every Saturday night over on the Experience Twitch channel. Join Taji Beats for the EXP Dance Party, exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Why was Princess Zelda sad after watching a bunch of YouTube videos? She couldn't find the link in the description. We'll stop if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's super easy. Click subscribe and click the bell when you do. And thanks for supporting the EXP.
What's up, everybody? We're back, and for those of you guys who are just showing up now, I am Chuck Pino. I know Miss Jen is having a really good-looking day today. And, of course, we're here with Dominic and John, and we're talking about them and, of course, about the sweet Kickstarter they're working on right now, all about the hockey legend, Red Wings legend, Darren McCarty. So, guys, what's going on?
Yeah, hanging in there. I'm excited to be on here and talk hockey and comics. Two things that I can kind of do okay.
Right. Well, I was so excited because I got the message from Kyle and he's like, "Hey man, can you do you mind jumping in on this and helping out?" And I was like, "I could probably do that." Like I was going to do it anyways. And then when I saw what it was about, I was like, "Oh damn, I can talk about this." Yeah, okay, because I was really, I was going to research right away, and luckily it's hockey. I didn't have to research that much, so I watched an episode or two of Letterkenny, so I know my stuff.
Right.
So getting onto the Kickstarter, because that's something I'm a Kickstarter guy. I've been on more than 100 myself, and I love to push them and show them off. So tell me a little bit about your Kickstarter. I mean, I went over it real quick. Do you guys have anything, like any kind of special stuff that maybe other Kickstarters, especially since you're a hockey comic book, is there anything that maybe other people wouldn't find on their Kickstarters that you guys have on yours?
It's unique in the ways we've talked about with hockey being involved and things like that. As far as the rewards go, I mean, you can have, I think we've already sold one, dinner with Darren. If you can fly into Detroit, you and a friend can have dinner with Darren. I think for an hour or something like that. I mean, that's a unique experience. And Darren is not boring if you sit down and eat with him. He's got stories coming a mile a minute. That hour will be worth about 5 hours because he talks so fast, and we'll just keep going one after another. He's great in that situation. There's also a Skype call with Darren. We have hockey jerseys that are available. The Burnaby Blazers, who I was talking about earlier, the Darren McCarty's team that he owns. I don't know how many other Kickstarters have hockey jerseys or hockey pucks signed by NHL legends. So this is definitely different. Not to mention some original art from John Marroquin and stuff like that that you're used to seeing in other Kickstarters. But the combination of it all is unique, in my opinion.
Well, and what's really funny is that, like, just going into this, I was like, oh, okay, cool. So we're gonna be talking hockey. But something else that I realized about him upon doing my research was he also has a hard rock band, which I'm a big metalhead myself, so that was great. And even John, I believe it might be your cover, or I don't know if that was you or if that was Billy Tucci, who I believe did a cover or the cover. But you've got metal legends on there. Like I saw Zakk Wylde and stuff. Yeah. So that's pretty awesome.
Billy Tucci did McCarty, and I did the fans in the back. Yeah, it's Zakk Wylde, Kid Rock, Snoop Dogg. I'm back there. Dom's in there. My son's in there.
Yeah. There's reasons for that. If you're a Zakk Wylde Black Label Society fan, there's Darren. He was on and off the wagon a lot, and so while he was in his partying mode, he spent like a week or so on the road with Black Label Society running lyrics cards to Zakk. There was a drinking contest where they were drinking stout, like Guinness stout or something, like pitchers at a time. Like you had to finish the pitcher, you and your partner, and I thought that was great. That needed to be in the book. And when I give the pages to John, he texts me. He's like, seriously, 3 fucking pages of a drinking contest?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's there's celebrity run-ins in there, all kinds of them. Wayne Gretzky, Ric Flair, Mike Tyson is in there. Because he is a media darling. He go, like we said, he had his rock band Grinder. He has his comedy tour. He's, I don't know if anyone has been on stage as a comedian, pro hockey player, and a rock star. So he's a very unique life. You know what I mean?
Well, and wrestler too.
Yeah. Now he's a wrestler. He's a pro wrestler. Yeah.
Dude, that's just weird. John, for you, having to draw all these celebrities, was there a certain amount of worry for you? Like, I better get it right, because if Mike Tyson sees it, I might be missing half my jaw.
Nah, it's funny books, so
yeah,
just get the gist of it. I was excited to draw Zakk Wylde though, because I'm a big Zakk Wylde fan.
Dude,
between Ozzy and Black Label Society, I listened to that stuff over and over. So
yeah,
that was great.
Have you listened to much of his Zach Sabbath stuff?
Oh yeah, I got tickets. They're coming next month here to St. Andrews. I've seen them. I went and seen them the last time they were here. It was great.
So for those of you that don't know, Zach basically has a Black Sabbath cover band that he does called Zach Sabbath, and they're great.
And he only plays Dio Sabbath. He doesn't play any Ozzy. That's
So a lot of Holy Diver. Heaven and Hell, stuff like that. Dude, it's kind of nice though. Like, I would have loved to have sat down, obviously, and chatted with Darren. But the nice thing about him not being here is we definitely get to focus on the comic and whatnot. Because I know I would have been super excited about all that other stuff and whatnot as well. So when talking about the comic, you guys have sat down, you've talked with him, or at least, you met with him and chatted with him in one way or another. Was there any stuff that he like, and obviously you don't have to go into particular detail, but was there anything where he was like, I don't want to talk about this? Or was he pretty much an open book?
Yeah, he was an open book. I mean, there was just minor things, and I don't think it was like he didn't want to talk about it. He's just like, well, people know about that. We were repeating ourselves. It wasn't anything like too private that wasn't in there. It was just like, I don't know. I'm sick of that part. Let's just move on. And it wasn't all negative stuff. It was positive stuff too. That he's like, let's skip over that. That's in the book. People know that, and I agree with them. I'm like, great. Let's bring some new stories and some new life. Some stuff that give your fans a reason to buy it. Like there's new material there.
Yeah, it's like when you're on your third version of Spider-Man in the movies, and you're like, we don't have to tell the origin anymore. Great, cool. We don't care about the origin anymore, so let's just get to the story. So yeah, I totally feel that.
Although every Batman movie still has to do it, though.
Right? How many times can his freaking parents die?
How many times am I going to see those pearls explode,
Right? Well, at least in the newest one, The Batman, they didn't go into it too much.
They still showed flashbacks, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
But
I was just saying, or just mention Martha and no freak out.
Yeah.
So we've got this happening. You got is there anything specific? Like, has there been talks about doing another one, or maybe other would you want to be able to go even further into his life, or is this done and you're thinking about other people to do biographies on, or
what? Well, yes, all of that. Yeah, Darren already wants another one. He's like, this story ends 2019. I'm like, yeah, that's when we started working on this. So he wants to do another one, and I'm like, all right, great. And I definitely am doing looking into documentaries on other people as well. I'm going to make the announcements when the ink changes. Not just hockey, but I want to do other sports and actors and people. As long as there's a good story that I feel that is going to be gripping enough, not just because someone's famous. They have to have a good story to tell in a comic book format where things are interesting.
So who's someone, and this isn't, we're not obviously trying to get you to give anything away here, because that's not fair. I'm sure you got NDAs and all that kind of stuff going on. But who's someone who maybe you haven't been able to talk to yet, who you would really like to, who you're like, man, I already know what kind of story I want to tell, and I haven't even been able to get anything extra out of you, and someone who we might not expect.
Floyd Mayweather.
Okay.
I mean, he was. I've never met him, but he was like a born villain. I think that him being a Roddy Piper, he was just being the heel on TV. He was just pissing everybody off because everybody wanted to see him get his ass kicked by somebody. I mean, it never happened, which is even more incredible. But I could be wrong. Maybe that is what he's like, but I don't think so. I think he's turning it up for TV.
I don't think he was like that in the beginning of his career.
No.
I think he turned it on halfway through or something, but he is from Flint also, isn't he?
Grand Rapids, I think.
Oh, is it Grand Rapids? I know somewhere up north.
Somewhere in Michigan. Yeah, somewhere in the mitten somewhere. But a guy like that, where that's a personality and a behind the scenes of what he did. Who knows if he's going to be open to that, to tell me the tricks of the trade that he did. Oh, I knew if I said this, buy rates would go up for my next fight and things like that. I'm more if I get a DVD of a movie, I'm watching the behind the scenes. I'm watching the direct. That's me. I like the other. Sometimes that's more interesting than the movie. Kind of like pro wrestling. The behind the scenes politicking and gossip and all that stuff is most of the time better than what comes on the television. I don't know why I like it so much, but it's just interesting.
Right. Well, what is it about that Great Lakes area, do you think that makes for good fighters? Because there are some really good Chicago, Detroit. I mean, I know a lot of people don't know fighters from Toronto, but I can tell you, man, even just in the hockey world and whatnot, we've got some goons who can really lay down some fists and pull up some shirts. So, like, what do you think it is about that area that just boils everyone's blood despite the cold weather?
Well, my grandpa would have said because everyone's got a funja, and that's Italian, like a scowl face. Everyone just has a scowl, especially in Michigan. There's so many months where it's just gray days. It's not, in my opinion, it's not the cold weather that gets you. It's every day for months. It's just gray. There's no blue sky, and I think that just gets everyone is on edge. And it's a different kind. It's not like a New York where everyone's like, honking and fuck you and get out of here. It's a different type of anger. I don't know. Yeah. This is just me in my commentary out in the suburbs, but John was, in the heat of it more in Detroit. So, he might know more, living in the city, his opinion. I'm curious to hear.
Because it was poor and dirty.
Yeah, it's true. That'll do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And there's something about that anger that it's like it's easily vented. Like anywhere else you think like, oh man, these dudes just kick the crap out of each other. This is not going to be. They're going to hate each other forever. And it's like, no, they're going to have drinks like half an hour from now, talking about it being like, oh man, that your right hook is actually really good. I almost toppled. But I kept going like, yeah, I know, I saw that. Like, there's just something about it that's just so messed up. Like, I know I've taken a couple of, I've played my set of chin music now and then, and yeah.
There's Essex County in Ontario is like the hub where all the tough guys came from. Darren McCarty, Probert, Ty Domi. There's a giant list. They all come from this little area. There's something in the water there. If I have to go drive to Toronto, I'm going around Essex County.
Well, and they freaking they practice fighting. Like it's like, hey man, you know what? I want to get ready. It's like they've created their own goon school. It's freaking nuts. And like a lot of you guys might think, oh, that's just for show in a game. Nah, man, like that's a big part of the game, and a lot of them take those fights really seriously. Like and not even in a I hate this guy way. It's a I have to kick his ass so they know to leave my boys alone. It's usually not even a personal thing. It's more like I have to kick your ass so you don't touch that guy, because that guy, he's a little fragile, but if I can keep you off of him, he's going to put so many pucks into that 5-hole.
Yeah, that's their job. That's their bread and butter. Yep. That's what they get paid to do. It got to the point. There's not as much fighting anymore. But from what I was told, it got to the point where, like, you have like an enforcer on your team, and the other team didn't have an enforcer. So what is the enforcer on your team? What's he going to do out there on the ice? And like they were getting healthy scratched more. They weren't playing, and it's like, well, like I think Ty Domi was towards the end of that era. He's still out there, and he's like, I guess I have to score goals now, or I don't. So
and a lot of those guys were not handsome dudes either. Like. Let's be honest. Like Ty Domi, great guy, really fun dude. Like I've seen him in interviews, and I've seen him around Toronto and whatnot, but not a pretty man.
No, oh God, yeah. I think I walked past him once at Joe Louis, and he's scary as hell. I ran the other way. I'm like, no thanks. Yeah. I'm going the other way.
No, so. Dude, I could talk hockey with you guys all day, but again, we're still talking about this Kickstarter. I would love everybody out there right now who's watching and checking it out, please, at the very least, share this Kickstarter off, show it off, because I'm sure you guys have someone out there who absolutely loves comics, hockey, hard rock, wrestling, comedy, like any number of things that that Darren and these guys are all a part of where this book is concerned. So please share it around because I'm sure you're going to find someone who loves it.
I just want to mention the easiest way to go check it out is McCartyComic.com.
Nice.
We'll direct you right to the campaign.
Yeah. So for you guys, what would be your quick pitch for someone who doesn't know Darren, has no clue, maybe even they're not a hockey fan, but I'm sure they'll still enjoy it. So what would be your quick pitch to someone you think would enjoy it, even though they know nothing about him in hockey?
I would say this is someone that overcame many struggles. Even if you're not a hockey fan, you have to respect the humanity and the toughness, not just on the ice, dropping the gloves and fighting, but he had a father that took off as soon as he was born, and he had to learn to fight for himself. And then he had struggles with alcohol and drugs and limelight and attention to detail, ADD and stuff like that. He had many, and he fell on his ass many times. It's that saying, it's how you get back up. And he did. And it's, that to me is very inspiring. And it's something every time I think about it, I'm like, okay, I got to stop complaining. This guy had it a lot worse, and he got up every single time. And when he got up, he didn't have all his teeth. He didn't have, a lot of things, but kept getting up, and always, especially in that 2008 year where he was fat, drunk, and out of hockey. And he got back in shape and fought back through the minor leagues again to be the last guy taken on like the last game of the 2008 season with the Red Wings, and went on to win his fourth Stanley Cup. That was an incredible chain of events.
Yeah.
So even just from a human standpoint, it's inspiring, even if you don't know anything about hockey. And you might learn some things along the way too.
Yeah. Well, and guys, I mean, you people may not know anything about hockey, but I will tell you one thing. Any man who can get a hat trick on the legendary Patrick Waugh in one game, dude, that's a big freaking deal. Like, I grew up with Patrick Waugh was one of those goalies who was just like, he was a wall. And so the idea that he was able to get a hat trick on that man, okay, fine. It was when he was no longer with Montreal anymore. He was with the Rockies, but still, the man was still an amazing goalie. And the fact that he was able to pull that off, that's insane.
John, that's like a one pager that John did. It's incredible. It's a close up of Patrick Waugh's face, all frustrated with the goals. And then the Steve Yzerman thing he said to the media was like, "Well, Darren just got a hat trick against Patrick Waugh. It's a true sign of the apocalypse." So, I believe that page I'm talking about is actually, you can get the 1-of-1, the original art of that page in the Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah. Oh, guys, you got to jump on that, man. Well, do you guys ever find, because like growing up, comic fans, we've always had to defend ourselves and defend our medium and whatnot. But I found coming here, I had to defend hockey, which was weird to me because, of course, growing up where I did, even if you weren't a hockey fan, you still appreciated it and you still understood. And like, I've had to tell people down here, they're like, "Oh man, hockey sucks, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, are you kidding me? You guys are all into football? Imagine put those guys on slippery ice and then putting friggin' knives on their feet, okay? Because that's what's happening. And these guys aren't just hitting each other hard. They're beating the shit out of each other. So I don't know how maybe you don't like it. Yeah, look at that. That looks, dude, that's such a great piece, John. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I lit up when I saw that. I was like, "That's."
Oh, of course you did. Oh, dude. Oh, that's just a gorgeous piece.
You know what I tell people? Like, I understand where you're coming from. You come here, it's not the number one sport like it is in Canada.
Yeah.
What you listen to what people complain about with basketball and football and baseball is all this false bravado. Like, basketball, they're taking dives all over the court, like soccer, and they're hurt and they're not really hurt and they're getting carried off the field. Well, there's no false bravado in hockey. It's self-regulated. You want to run your mouth, you want to do all that stuff. You can do that, but now you got to drop the gloves with the guy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to check you.
No hiding.
Yeah. So, I mean, it has everything that you're complaining about. You know, it doesn't have any of that. You know, I mean, if you just come off the bench and don't play and you're not hurt, your own team's gonna kick the shit out of you. When you're out to your car, you're not even. It's like you have to worry about the other team. It's when you're on your own bench. You know, so I always find that funny. Like, here you are complaining. Hockey has everything that you're complaining about. It's not existent.
Yeah. Well, and the only false thing that you're gonna find in hockey is guys. Sorry, my wife is walking by. Is guys hiding their pain and hiding their wounds. You know, they're not gonna be like, you know, faking a limp or anything like that. They're gonna be hiding that limp because they want to stay on the ice. They want to redeem themselves. They want to finish.
I thought you were going to say false teeth. I was like, that's the way
but a lot of guys actually take them out on the ice, so there's no point. I mean, hey, I got my playoff haircut going already and everything.
Are you a Stars fan now, or are you still a Maple Leafs?
I mean, I've been to some games. Actually, it was great. I went to a game here in San Antonio. They've got a minor league team, and I brought my kids there. And my youngest one at the time was like, I think she was like 4 or 5, and we went to a minor league game and we were having fun. And so I'm explaining to her because when we left Canada, she was 2. So I was like, all right, you're gonna see fights. When they fight, yell fight. Everyone yells fight. Have fun. Blah blah blah. You know, fight, fight, fight. And so every once in a while, the kids would get it, fight, fight, fight. And we're in like the 3rd period or something. We're watching the game go by, and all of a sudden the little one's like, fight, fight, fight. And I'm looking at the ice, and there's nothing to do. I'm like, kiddo, are you watching a different game or something? And she's like, no, Daddy, fight, fight, fight. And I'm like, 3 rows down, and just off to the side, 2 guys are going at each other over their benches. And I was like, oh, dang, oh, fight, fight, fight. Come here, kiddo. So one last time, this Kickstarter, tell us just a little bit more about it as we're slowly heading out. Guys, it's been so great chatting with you. Tell us a little bit about Darren McCarty, Life is a Grind.
Yeah, so this is something that I worked with John on for, I think it was close to 4 years, all through COVID, and there's a 180-page graphic novel. So it was it was the biggest thing I had ever done by a lot. And it's something that I had rattling in my head for years before that. It was something that I envisioned and that I didn't think was out there. I like to do things that, you know, I don't like to repeat somebody else's idea. I want to do something that comes off as new and exciting and, you know, going upstream, you know, creating a new genre maybe, or, you know, doing stuff that I know about, but hasn't been done before. So I'm really proud of the way this came out. I hit all the high points with Darren, I believe. And we had some great artwork from John, Billy Tucci with the cover. We even had some other guys like blend some other artwork, like Arvell Jones did the little picture of Mike Tyson and Darren. So, and there's some new stuff that you won't see coming. We have a few curveballs in there, some really, really cool stuff, not to mention the great rewards we have on the Kickstarter. Yeah. So McCartyComic.com, and we've already had some celebrities do some videos for us, like Barry Sanders helped us promote it. Who else do we have so far? Devon Dudley from the Dudley Boys. WWE, he helped us out. A couple guys from minor hockey, Brandon Hawkins. So we have some other big names coming too. So stay tuned. Mess Bucket Comics, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, as well as SourcePoint Press for those videos. And McCartyComic.com. We really want to hit our goal. I'm really this is something I've been working really, really hard for, and I know John did too. John was he's a busy guy, and he fit this into his schedule somehow.
A lot of weekends.
Well, and I really appreciate you guys fitting this in your schedule and being able to come out, hang out with us today. And I know Miss Jen's not here, but I really do appreciate you guys sitting down, hanging out with me, and being able to talk hockey and comics and everything.
Yeah, thank you. We want to promote this to as much as possible. I appreciate your time as well.
No, I'm so happy to do it. Do you guys have anything else for yourselves personally that's coming up that you might want to let anyone know about?
Go ahead, John. Are you working on a few things?
Yeah, I got about 5 million things on my table. But yeah, I mean, just my regular stuff. I have a book, Mashika, that came out a while ago that I'm working on some stuff on that, and a few other projects that I'm trying to finish up. But yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. It's John Boys with a Z Art, and usually I put my stuff up on there. But
sweet. And where can they track you down, Dom?
At Mess Bucket Comics, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's Mess Bucket came from Mark Messier's old bucket that Winwell award.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. So I'm trying to draw power from Mess into the comics through his incredibly ridiculous helmet he wore like 20 years after anybody else did. But I got 2 books that are going to come out real soon. You'll see it on Kickstarter as well. The 4th Donnybrook in the series in season 1, which will contain 6 books. And John also lent his art to the covers of all of those books. That should be out soon, as well as the sequel to Rowdy Roddy Piper, The Kilted Avenger, which is going to be called British Bulldog UK Defender. So, yeah, I've been working with the British Bulldog estate. We're very close to finishing the project, and it's going to be really, really cool stuff in that Kickstarter as well.
That's freaking awesome. Guys, thank you so much for coming out. I really appreciate it. Everybody out there, please check these boys out. I'm super excited to meet you guys on the road and check out your books because I've only heard good things, not only just from what you guys have said today, but of course, Jay and Kyle both talked you guys up and what you guys are doing. So I'm very excited to check it out. Thank you guys so much for coming out today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Guys, go check this out. You guys are going to have an absolute time. Thank you so much for listening to this third stringer chat along and talk all the stuff you guys don't necessarily enjoy, hockey and everything else. I'm telling you, there's so much action. I have no doubt this is going to be an absolute awesome book. Guys, this has been The Experience. Thank you so much to our producer, Jay Burns. I am Chuck Pino. My name is Chuck, and I give a fuck. Take care, everybody.
Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere The Experience is all the time.